The catacombs of Palermo are one of the most bizarre and fascinating places in the world, a true museum of preserved deaths and a testament to the history and religious devotion of a bygone era. Located beneath the Capuchin Monastery in Palermo, Sicily, these catacombs contain over 8,000 mummified bodies, arranged in an extraordinary and meticulous manner. The catacombs began to take shape in the late 16th century and, over time, transformed into a unique collection that reflects not only the spiritual beliefs of the Capuchins, but also the burial practices and cultural attitudes of a society that viewed death very differently from most modern cultures. The bodies are not simply buried or preserved in a conventional manner. They are displayed in poses that appear almost alive, some sitting, others lying down, all wearing clothes from the time, creating an atmosphere that is both fascinating and unsettling. For those brave enough to face the mystery and eerie ambience of this place, visiting the catacombs of Palermo is a journey through time, a deep immersion into death and the beliefs that once surrounded it. What makes the catacombs of Palermo so unusual is the way the bodies are preserved and organized. Instead of being simply buried or cremated, the Capuchin friars developed a complex mummification technique to ensure that the dead were preserved almost eternally. They were not merely preserving the bodies, but also the clothes, the expressions, and the gestures of the dead, as if they wanted to give the impression that these individuals were still present, waiting in silence. The technique used involved an elaborate embalming process, where the bodies were dehydrated and treated with a mixture of chemicals, such as formalin, alcohol, glycerin, salicylic acid, and zinc salts. The mummification process was slow and could take up to a year to complete. During this time, the bodies were kept in a controlled environment with regulated humidity to ensure the preservation was as effective as possible. After full desiccation, the bodies were dressed in the clothes they had chosen before death, a symbolic gesture to ensure the deceased were remembered as they desired. Although the mummification process in the catacombs was a religious practice, what truly marks this place is how it became a real museum of people who lived hundreds of years ago. Many of the bodies were arranged in groups, with specific categories based on occupation, social status, or even gender. One of the most striking aspects of the catacombs of Palermo is that they are not just a place of preservation, but also an exhibition space, where the bodies are arranged to tell the story of Palermitan society and the religious life of the time. The mummies are arranged according to profession, with different rooms dedicated to doctors, priests, soldiers, and even children. This offers a unique view of how different classes and occupations were treated in death. While the mummies of friars are generally in prayer or meditation poses, soldiers are often depicted standing in immaculate uniforms, and doctors are frequently placed in positions that honor their profession. Women, on the other hand, are shown in dresses from the time, often with flowers in their hair, reflecting the respect and status they held while alive. Additionally, the children, with their innocence preserved, contrast with the adults, providing a unique glimpse into how premature deaths were viewed at the time. Among the most notable mummies is that of Rosalia Lombardo, a little girl who died in 1920 at the age of 2. She is one of the most famous figures in the catacombs, not only because of her almost untouched physical condition, but also for the serenity of her appearance. The girl was embalmed by the embalmer Alfredo Salafia, who used advanced techniques to preserve Rosalia's body in an almost supernatural way. Her calm expression and appearance of deep sleep have made her an icon among visitors to the catacombs. Salafia's work, one of the greatest embalmers of the time, was so meticulous that he is considered responsible for the exceptional preservation of the girl, whose face and hair remain nearly identical to the state they were in when she died. Rosalia Lombardo is often called the Sleeping Beauty because of her almost celestial appearance, and she remains a symbol of one of the most fascinating mysteries of the site. Another intriguing aspect of the catacombs of Palermo is the arrangement of the bodies. Many of the dead are positioned standing, as if they are in a constant vigil, while others are lying down or seated. This organization is not merely an aesthetic choice, but a reflection of a deeply rooted belief in the religious culture of the time. Death is not the end, but a transition to another state of existence. The Capuchin friars, known for their austere and religious practices, believed that preserving the body would help keep the memory of the dead alive, allowing their presence to continue to influence the community in a spiritual way. For the friars, the idea of preserving the body and displaying it as a symbol of faith was a way to honor those who had passed and ensure their memory and devotion were respected. It is interesting to note that, despite its fame as one of the most macabre places in Italy, the catacombs of Palermo were not originally seen as a sinister spectacle. On the contrary, they were created with a profoundly spiritual purpose, aimed at teaching the living about the importance of death and the afterlife. The preservation of the bodies was not just a funerary practice, but a way to keep the dead in communion with the living. The catacombs were designed to be a place for meditation and reflection on mortality and faith. For the Capuchins, death was not an end, but a continuation of the spiritual journey. In this way, the catacombs became a place of learning, where the living could reflect on their own lives, question the purpose of existence, and connect with the spiritual legacy of the dead. Although the catacombs of Palermo still serve this spiritual function today, they have also become an important center for scientific and anthropological research. The study of the mummies and the mummification processes has provided scientists with a rich source of information about the burial habits, health, and living conditions of the Sicilian population over the centuries. By examining the mummified bodies, researchers have been able to learn more about the diseases that afflicted people, the conditions of labor, and even the changes in lifestyle over the years. The study of the mummies in the catacombs of Palermo also helps shed light on the medicine of the time, as the preserved bodies provide clues about how diseases were treated and how living conditions influenced people's health. Furthermore, the catacombs continue to be a place of fascination and mystery, not just for tourists, but also for scholars seeking to better understand the complexities of funerary cultures and the methods of preservation used throughout history. Visiting the catacombs of Palermo, tourists are confronted with an experience that evokes mixed feelings of fascination and discomfort. The atmosphere of the catacombs is heavy with history, but also with a strange serenity, as if the mummified bodies are more than mere mortal remains, still holding some type of presence. The rigid postures, serene expressions, and the contrast between death and almost perfect preservation create a unique ambience, prompting visitors to reflect deeply on the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. The catacombs are not just a place to admire human skill in preserving bodies, but a stark reminder that, no matter how hard we try to fight against time, we are all subject to the same final fate. Thus, the catacombs of Palermo continue to be one of the most fascinating and mysterious destinations in the world, a blend of art, history, and spirituality that challenges modern conventions about how we deal with death. They are, at the same time, a place for reflection on the fragility of human life and a tribute to the memory of those who lived before us. With their intact and carefully preserved mummies, the catacombs offer a surreal and unique view of the past, one that continues to intrigue and challenge those who venture to explore its silent, history-filled corridors.